Hi, welcome to the episode 7 of the GenAI CIO podcast. So, we're just starting the new year and we already have a lot of updates that we have for you. And I think 2024 is going to be a super busy year when it comes to the enterprise adoption of generative AI. We are excited and so let's get started to let's get started with the episode right away. The very first one is a pretty big one. I did a LinkedIn post as well about this, right? During the cloud time, like about a few years back when we were running Power Up Cloud, we always used tech coming in from some big tech companies. Like Netflix launched something called Netflix Eyes, which was an open source platform to manage cloud operations. So, and many other large companies chimed in and they started sharing their internal best practices as open source tools. So when big tech and when big companies come in, it's a very different, I would say, value add to the ecosystem because they build solutions to solve real problems, and these are vetted solutions because they kind of work and solve real problems, and it makes the adoption much more easier compared to probably startups and other open source platforms, including folks like us, wherein we build for a particular problem and then we kind of add further more features to it. But when such tech comes from big companies, it's very different. So on those lines, we have today JPMorgan and Chase, which is the biggest bank. They launched DocLLM, which is a specialized language model that is able to extract data from your complex contract documents. They've trained this over several thousands of documents, and there are two models available. They built one on Falcon 1 billion model, which is a smaller one, and the other one is a larger one, which is built on Llama 7B. And from a benchmarking standpoint, DocLLM actually exceeds GPT-4 as well when it comes to identifying the data, extracting the data, identifying the different data sets and tables and type of data that is there in a contract. So it's a pretty I would say advanced multimodal document language model, and this is just, I would say, just the beginning of the whole thing. There are more and more such specialized language models that would keep coming out. But what does it tell us? The power of fine tuning. Take a base model, give it enough examples or training data, you can fine tune it to an extent where it can do better than state of the art models like GPT-4. What it also tells us is, imagine just how powerful GPT-4 is just out of the box. You'll have to train so much to kind of benchmark the product or the fine-tuned LLM with GPT-4, but GPT-4 just out of the box is super powerful. And what would GPT-5 bring in? So both are I would say exciting areas to kind of look into. So that's DocLLM.
So great. Thanks, thanks, Shiva, for that update. Right, as you mentioned, it definitely is a brilliant update from JPMC. But what I also wanted to probably spend some time on, how is it different from the other document extraction, techniques that have been used in the past, right? And why probably this is actually making news, or this is quite an important update. See, I think document extraction is something, Shiva, we've done, like Power Up,
Yeah,
that you were doing,
OCR, we used to do all of that. Yeah,
visual encoders and whatnot, right? But then document extraction has always remained a multimodal problem if you look at it. So at one hand, you've got your, visual encoders or OCR type of techniques that actually leverage bounding box type of techniques to do text semantics, right? Understand where the text is present in that whole document, right? And then obviously some kind of a text semantic engine would take over, which would start understanding and ingesting this text, right, and then start making sense of it, right. Well, obviously LLMs have made really good strides. We ourselves internally, right, at Liza have developed a document extractor with high accuracy. Now, another problem with these transformer models have mostly been that the next word prediction method has had certain set of challenges with the different types of formats of documents, right? Because these are very irregular formats. You've got your visual, tools, images. You've got your text placed at multiple places, especially with, contracts, with POs, with invoices and whatnot, right? So what at Doc LLM they're trying to solve is they've now brought both or combined both these capabilities together, right? Which is
Yeah.
your visual encoding it's not a two-step process, right? It now combines with the LLM, attention capabilities, right? The transform models attention capabilities. Now, how does that work, right? So today, obviously, leveraging, and they're not leveraging any kind of visual encoders. They're leveraging OCR, which keeps the model light, right? To probably identify the text where the text is present, right? So do the bounding rules, right? But immediately from that, it actually leverages the attention mechanism of these transformer models,
Spatial attention mechanism.
spatial
Yeah.
techniques, right? So that's the next breaking step that they've actually taken, which now helps you do multiple support. Probably the formatting of the document doesn't matter at all, right? Because it's not no longer a multimodal engine. It's the multimodal capabilities have been brought in together, right? Another good thing about this, obviously, is there is now an LLM extension. It can be used with any kind of an LLM now to probably, extract data from any of your documents. So really good update from JPMC, but this is how it actually differs or why probably this brings an advantage, right?
Yeah, I mean, you still, I mean, this is your LLM. This you might still have to apply RAG on it in order to supply context to a particular LLM actually. But the best part is this LLM is out of the box. I mean, if you're using GPT-4, for example, there has to be a ton of prompts that you'll have to write in order to get GPT-4 to do the same. But with Doc LLM, you can do it out of the box.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think DocLLM will only get better from here on. They will probably release the next version, and the version after will just going to get better. But it's fantastic to see that a very large enterprise doing cutting edge research and sharing new LLM to the world. Rishabh, you and I know that JPMC actually have had access to OpenAI from.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, they were one of the very few enterprises who used to work with
2018.
OpenAI from
Yeah.
2018, 2019 onwards. So, but good that they are like not using it just for their profits and stuff. They are actually bringing out to the market.
No,
Fantastic.
but that's how, and I was just reading this article how 2024 is going to be the world of open source, right? We've already seen this, right, Shiva? We've discussed this multiple times, so I'll not get into details. But yeah, what I'm really excited about is how the open source world will shape the whole GenAI piece, which is it already done, but how it advances, right? So,
Nice. What
so yeah,
next?
brilliant update. Right, moving on to the next update is again, three predictions that we discussed before. We called it a year. One obviously is that 2023 has been the year of the advent of GenAI, LLMs, foundation model. While transformers have existed, for a couple of years, but how the world uses it, right? But 2024 is going to be the year how it's consumed, right? How
Yeah.
put it to practical,
Yes.
uh, you know, implementation. And a very
Yes.
good step towards obviously is, and again, I'm a big fan of Amazon. What they've done is while Bedrock is their managed
Who's
service
not?
for
Who's not a big fan of Amazon?
agreed, Shiva. So while obviously Bedrock, which is the managed service, still has some time to host Mixtral, they brought Mixtral at least on SageMaker JumpStart models, right? As part of
Okay.
SageMaker JumpStart models, which means now that developers, right, who want to consume Mixtral now, Mixtral 7 model can just with one single click get the model right from Jumpstart and deploy it on SageMaker Studio, right, and then
So
start prompting.
for listeners, can you explain what is the difference between SageMaker and Bedrock, and what is SageMaker Jumpstart?
Sure, absolutely. So SageMaker is their standard is primarily a studio or an ML studio that it
ML
actually provides.
Studio.
Right.
Okay.
Which you can still run your foundation models, by the way, right?
Okay. Like you can build and you can run.
Absolutely. You can build, you can run, you can customize, you can even run your test cases. It in fact allows you end-to-end MLOps, capabilities. Now on top of it, a few years back they launched JumpStart, right, which is nothing but primarily a library of ready-to-deploy models, right. So probably your, different forms of k-means, different forms of random
Like
forest
templates. They're like
templates that you
templates.
can just pick up, customize, and then with one click just push it to SageMaker.
JumpStart. Sorry, SageMaker. Okay, got it. Okay.
Now, obviously, with the advent of GenAI and the large language model specifically, right, they've released Bedrock, which is the managed service for running your models, right? So, in short, the biggest problem that you've actually seen still is with customers is the infrastructure, right? Provisioning of the infrastructure, managing. With Bedrock, obviously, it's a managed service where you can just run your foundation models without any kind of issues or provisioning capabilities, right?
Same as SageMaker, right? SageMaker is also a managed service.
It is,
So
it
you
is,
still
but sorry, go ahead, sir.
no, you still don't get to handle a server or a storage, etc. It is still a managed service.
It is a managed service. You can still probably host, like probably if let's say today, if Mixture is not available as on Bedrock today, I can still host it as an endpoint and consume it, right? That capacity is still there. But SageMaker obviously still remains your studio where you can actually go and or probably customize your models or integrate and run test your models, right? Whereas Bedrock is more of a run service for your foundation models, right? So, see, why I'm really happy about this update is Shiva, and I think in the last week itself we were discussing about NVIDIA's microservice, right? The Retriever microservice, which allows your LLMs to be integrated with any kind of data sets today, right? And that also is available on SageMaker Studio. So what this means for enterprises, obviously for your application builds, for your production workload, you still need to probably spend a lot of time. But for your smaller experiments, you actually have end-to-end lifecycle now available. You've got your mods like Mixtral available on JumpStart, which you can just integrate and then probably use these microservices to bring in your data sets, like your PDF documents or your CSV files, and just experiment right before you obviously get onto your production workload. Right? So it's a very good
Nice.
complete development life cycle that Amazon has brought to their customers and partners, right? So really happy about this.
And Mixtral 8 into 7B, I think there is a typo here. It's not a 7 billion parameter model. It is actually a 64 billion parameter model. Apparently, it's 56 billion parameter
56
model.
billion, yeah.
Yeah, and Mixtral is the state-of-the-art open source model currently, right? And Amazon allowing that on SageMaker is like fantastic. This is a massive advantage to our customers as well. Now they don't have to wait for Bedrock to launch Mixtral. They can just go ahead with JumpStart. I mean SageMaker actually.
Correct, absolutely. So 46, or I think in that range, again, I'm not getting the exact number, but 46 billion something is the parameters range, right, Shiva?
No, 50.
And yeah,
No,
I agree.
apparently it's 56. As far as okay, question again before we move to the next topic. Then how is it different from if tomorrow Amazon Bedrock launches Mixtral? As a customer, where should I run Mixtral? Should I run it on SageMaker or should I run it on Bedrock?
So you will still continue, or obviously the better option for running your foundation models is Bedrock, right? But you would
Okay,
still leverage SageMaker for editing some of these models, right? Or bringing capabilities from that perspective. But for running your foundation models, once it's available on Bedrock, Bedrock is a better choice because obviously it's a managed service that AWS has released. And we leverage it for a lot of our deployments on Claude primarily and Stable Diffusion Shiva. And yeah, absolutely. There's no two ways in discussing that.
got it. Okay, fantastic update. Next, uh, so Intel and another venture capital firm has joined together to launch Article 8, which is Article 8, right? Which is an AI company focusing the enterprise market. They built a GenAI platform which allows enterprise companies to build RAG applications and generative AI applications faster. Pretty interesting. Apparently, a group of business leaders from Intel, where I think it's probably their idea, they carved out and started Article 8. Probably the first real competitor to Lizer. I mean, when I was building this deck, I realized that, yeah, you know what, they're doing a lot of things that we do. Obviously, there are different. I mean, there is a difference. We focus towards fully integrated SDKs, which is super private, and they focus more of a platform approach. So slightly different in the way we go to market. But this is fantastic because if there are more offers for enterprise companies to choose from, you could take full stack, you could take fully integrated SDKs and then manage it, or you could look at open source platforms like LangChain and build on top of it, or you can go the API route, sign up with Cohere APIs or Hugging Face APIs and run. There is just a lot ton of options. But again, enterprise companies would love to keep things within their cloud, within their hardware. That's where companies like Lizer or Articulate or I would say even open source platforms make sense. But this is just fantastic. I mean, this just adds more validation, or this validates the whole market looking at trying to solve the enterprise problems actually.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's
And that's why, right, I'm a big supporter of open source models today, because we work with a lot of financial services customers today, right? And obviously the biggest issue that they've highlighted is, one obviously is, as you highlighted, the code remaining within their environment or as an IP to them. Number two is the data piece, right? So yes, so SDK based approach, what you just highlighted, what probably Articulate is building and what Liza has built, definitely works out well for a lot of our customers as well.
But it's been interesting. I mean, customers are buying SDKs, customers are buying full stack platforms like Articulate. It's interesting. I mean, it's that's the beauty of this. It doesn't one size doesn't fit all. So whatever their cup of tea, they can sign up and use. That's nice.
Absolutely.
What do we have
So
next?
moving on to and this is something I love this update, but I'm a little concerned as well. So a lot of times, obviously, what has happened is I mean, I love this update because it's going to revolutionize the whole medicine industry, right? But I'm a little concerned is because a lot of times you don't want people to read your thoughts. But that's exactly what the next update is going to help you do, right? So the Sydney Technology University researchers have actually built something called as DeWave AI, which is nothing but using an EEG, which is primarily the brain study, the electrocardiogram for studying your brain through signals. They've leveraged that to probably read the thoughts, right, or probably list out the thoughts from a person's
No,
brain.
it picks the
So
brain signals, the neuron signals, and then based on that, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
combination of two. What they're doing is, so one is the EEG, the brain signals that they actually detect, and the eyes movement, right, when the person is
Okay.
actually going through, right. So they've actually taken both of these signals into combination. They've been able to articulate the thoughts of a person in written format, right. In fact, I was just seeing the launch video. While obviously a lot of these thoughts are not very coherent, right, like your verbs are missed out, or you're probably the conjunctions are missed out, but they've been able to very accurately show at least visually what the person was looking at, and probably how the brain actually simulated and then probably wrote it out, right. Like it was able to place cappuccino orders, right. I was going to get video.
Wow,
It
wow.
was able to
Okay.
place greet people, right, and so on and so forth, right. Now obviously I'm really excited. Just look at the possibilities, Shiva, right. Now, one is that it's a completely non-invasive technique, right? For our viewers, what does that mean? That it does not require any kind of surgery or implants to be made into your brains, right?
Unlike Elon Musk's neural link,
Right.
where actually it's an invasive one to an extent.
Absolutely. Correct. It requires like some kind of an implant to go into your brain for you to
Correct.
download your thoughts into the computer, right? This
Correct.
does not require any kind of invasive technology, right? So just look at the possibilities, right? So, I mean, someone who's who cannot speak, right, can now interact with people, right? Shiva, just imagine you're sitting with your son, right, and you're just visualizing, how his graduation ceremony needs to look like. This gets your thoughts get prompted to mid journey, and you're able to visualize, right, how you want to design his graduation journey.
I,
So the
I won't even go
possibilities.
that far. Can I use it on my wife? That's the first part.
That was the reason, Shiva. I am actually worried about this. I'm really happy, but I'm
Okay.
really worried about this. And you just spoke my mind, right? So yeah, so absolutely immense possibilities. But yeah, I'm absolutely worried about my wife using this against me.
Cool.
So great update. And they claim to have gotten 40% accuracy at this point. It is obviously pretty
Targeting a 90% accuracy. Yeah.
absolutely sure, right? So again, so as you know, as I was highlighting, the responses weren't very coherent, but at least it was able to give you a gist of the thoughts, right? When I saw
Yep.
that video. So
Imagine what would that do to the correctional facilities, prisons, right?
absolutely.
To all the light detector tests that you have might be replaced with this tech actually.
Absolutely, but you'll obviously have to have a lot of securities built around it.
Trials, yeah.
Like in India doesn't allow you psychological tests. Or probably Indian courts do not allow psychological tests to be accepted as testimony, right? So
Got
obviously,
it.
as we move forward, we'll understand how this industry shapes, right? But moving on to Google, right? We spoke about Microsoft. I think all last week the podcast was mostly about Microsoft. We just touched Amazon. Google is in the news again, right? So, while obviously they've not launched anything new. Their prior or majority of their focus is how they now make Gemini more consumable, right? And Shiva, as I was
When
highlighting.
is Ultra coming? When are they launching Ultra?
So 2024 is the launch date.
We are.
They've
Yeah.
so the team hasn't come up with the exact date of launch, but
Was
I
it
think
was it Jan 2024?
that's what I had. I think in the last announcement, it was made that it'll be available in Q1 of 2024, Shiva, not Jan 2024. So we still have 3 months to go, right? But what they are now focusing on is how do they make it more the Pro version and the Nano version more consumable. Right? So while Nano is available on the phones, Pro has been launched on Vertex AI. Right? Again, for our listeners who are not aware of Vertex AI, Vertex AI is the AI studio of Google, right, where you can actually go build your models, customize your models, and so on, right? They also have another offering which is called Do It AI, which was GA only last week, right, which is their coding tool, right? So what it means again, Shiva, is that Gemini Pro being available on Vertex AI, the consumability of
But
the model should increase.
question. What are the parallels? So Duet AI, is it like Microsoft GitHub Copilot?
Exactly. It's a coding tool that they have, but it's
Got
pretty
it.
new. The GA did last week itself, Wednesday.
Okay.
So we are yet to see how it works out. Number one, number two, Gemini is not available on Do It yet. They have mentioned that it'll be available in the next couple of weeks, right? Now
And Vertex AI, is it similar to SageMaker?
it's a little more enhanced version than
Enhanced.
SageMaker.
Okay.
Now, one advantage obviously you have with Vertex AI, which to a certain extent you have on SageMaker as well, is that Vertex AI has a lot of data sets, pre-built data sets that you can
Got
actually
it.
test your models with automatically, right?
Got it.
And if you check out the demo also that they used to release Gemini Pro on Vertex AI, it was a real estate broker's application that they had built leveraging one of these data sets itself, right?
Okay. Okay.
So that's where now Google is giving all the options for developers. They can just come and integrate this or probably leverage Gemini on Vertex AI, leverage some of these data sets to auto integrate and test your models, right? So we'll have to see, Shiva, how the adoption increases. Google is taking the right steps, but we'll have to see how the adoption increases.
Cool.
Right.
That's nice.
All
Guys,
right.
just release Ultra soon, please.
Yes, we're also waiting for it, sure. All right. Another very interesting update, and again, going to the second prophecy that we were discussing, right, Shiva, for 2024, is this year is going to be the year of small language models, right, or more domain-focused language models, right? And that's what this company called Robin AI, which is a 2019 company, has just done, right? So what they've done is and this was launched by a lawyer, right, in 2019. So with a lot of legal information, legal data sets available, they've leveraged close to 2 million contracts that they have in their data set and trained Claude, right, to build a contract co-pilot. Right. What do you mean by contract co-pilot? And they've launched this as a free extension to Microsoft Word right now. But what does it do? It primarily allows people in legal profession first of all to review their contracts, right? So it's very well versed with the legal glossary. but it also allows them to draft, or create draft versions of their legal documents, right? So again, a pretty good update, seeing where the world is moving from domain into domain-focused models, right? I've not tried it out yet, right? But yeah, I've seen a couple of videos where people have posted it. The glossary of the legal terminology seems to be pretty good.
Got it.
One thing which Shiva, I've not been able to find out after a lot of research as well, which version of Claude have they used, right, to fine tune.
This, but again, it shows that a lot of industry focused solutions will come out. That's the way to go as well. But I'm still not, what to say, the consumption aspect is something that I'm still worried about because, I mean, big tech, we understand, we get it. AWS, Google, they are big techs. You cannot live without them today. So it is okay. There is no privacy issue. I mean, there is no choice, but you'll have to trust them. But when it comes to SaaS companies or smaller tech companies asking a piece of your data or asking access to all of your data, that is a bit scary. If I'm a big law firm in New York, why would I probably open up Robin AI? I mean, open up all my data to Robin AI, all my contracts to Robin AI, right? Similarly, take a healthcare use
Yeah.
case or an insurance use case. That is my kind of worry. I mean, yes, I can open up to OpenAI because OpenAI by now would have scrapped all the data anyway. I mean, there's no hiding from somebody like an OpenAI or an Amazon or a Google, etc., or Microsoft for that matter. All our systems are Windows mostly in a law firm or an insurance company. So I have a fundamental problem here. For mid-size and smaller companies, these platforms are fantastic because it gives them a competitive edge and advantage. But the moment you cross the mid-market and get into smaller enterprise and larger enterprise segment, this kind of becomes a threat to an extent because you start sharing a lot of your secret sauce. I know there would be ISO 42001 complaints, SOC 2 complaints, GDPR. Hey, we don't train your data. I mean, there'll be all these promises made. I'm a bit skeptical of this thing.
So
Definitely big opportunity in the mid-market space, but very skeptical when it comes to when you move
in
up in the.
in fact, even in the mid market space, right, Shiva, and you did mention that all these are security compliant, right? They mentioned that probably the data is used not used for training, etc. But the biggest issue that I've seen, I've spoken to close to 50 plus CIOs in the last 7 months, right, on
Mm,
GenAI, even
mm.
in the mid-size segment primarily, especially in industries like healthcare where we work heavily or BFS where we work heavily into. The concern is not the data privacy, right, or the data when it moves will it be secure. That definitely is a concern, but that's not a major concern. The concern is I don't want to share my data.
Mm.
Right? It just comes, the buck comes and stops there, and that's why, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of open source. Most of these CIOs still want to spend some time in building their custom applications. Therefore,
Either open source or full
something that's
stack running
deployed.
or running locally like
Exactly.
Lizer, like Articulate, right? Run
Exactly.
locally or open source. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So yeah. So again, I mean the stats speak for themselves. Out of these 50 CIOs that I've spoken to, at least 40 plus CIOs have mentioned they want to build their own custom generative AI applications rather than leveraging something out of the box, right? And they have a lot of data that they're sitting on. That's how they built very well, right? So yeah. So absolutely, Shiva, I support that.
Nice. Next up, some big numbers from the OpenAI world, which is another big enterprise themselves actually. 1.6 billion moving up from what a mere 3.4 million. They were doing 3.4 million in 2020. And last year, I think they started this year at about 100 million ARR. And taking that to 1.6 billion is like crazy. 16x growth, which is like super crazy. And 2024 is going to be even bigger for OpenAI, right? Uh, and I think Sam Altman is in the middle of raising a massive round
Yes.
at $100 billion plus valuation. Earlier, they were speaking about 90 billion plus, but I think these numbers will push the things further up to 100 billion plus valuation. I really, I mean, my big bets of for 2024, I think I did a tweet about it actually. My big bets of 2024 from an OpenAI standpoint is OpenAI will launch a state-of-the-art RAG by default as a function. Uh, I mean, their RAG is probably state-of-the-art retrieval augmented generation framework that they use is state-of-the-art because we are able to experience that in ChatGPT 4. So they would probably launch that as an API as well for builders to build, number one. Number two, the big bet is I don't know if they're going to do it in 2024, but very soon, probably is that they're going to launch their own cloud where people can go and build solutions and host actually within the OpenAI premises. I mean, imagine what if Amazon Bedrock was actually a standalone cloud in itself, right? Go build. What if Amazon Bedrock and Vercel kind of came together? So that's my second big bet. The third big bet, which is not a big bet anymore because there are a lot of news already that Sam Altman is looking at building an iPhone equivalent, which is an AI phone types. I think being a consumer-driven guy he is, I think his vision is towards the consumer market. I think ChatGPT was his brainchild as well. It's a consumer market he's going after. But on the enterprise side, I would say a big bet and a wish list would be OpenAI to launch their own RAG as a function and also a cloud, an OpenAI cloud actually.
Absolutely, Shiva. See, I'm a big fan of Sam Altman and OpenAI. One of the reasons, obviously, is as you also highlighted in multiple of your past podcasts, is they've given a lot of power to individuals like me who did not understand coding to the level, but now obviously can build something, right? But one thing, obviously, and you rightly mentioned, like probably should they look at their own cloud? But one thing, what really and that's why I think it's very critical for them to raise rounds. And I was reading this report that they've spent almost close to $450 million plus in just the running of the Chat GPT infrastructure, right? So how much of their investment goes into building innovation versus just keeping lights on? I think that was one of the biggest concerns that was highlighted in this report. So really, they're there to stay. I think that's the bottom line. Obviously, they're going nowhere. But how do
Not
they probably
just
manage
not
some of
just staying, not just staying, disruption. Look at
Absolutely.
let's go to the next news because that's also interesting. Why don't you?
that ties to your story, and the third prediction that we had for this year, right, Shiva, is that this year is going to be a citizen GenAI developer year. Right, more
Yeah.
power is going to come to developers, right, and that's how the adoption will increase, right, and that's what OpenAI has just done. The GPT store, which was supposed to be launched in November, is now getting launched in January. Obviously, November they were busy firing Sam Altman, bringing him back, and so on and so forth. But yeah, January. So now it's getting launched finally, right? I think 13th Jan is the launch date.
Wow.
GPT
Okay.
store. Now, obviously, a couple of things, and especially for our viewers who are planning to launch their GPT right on GPT store. Number one, you obviously need to be signed up as a GPT builder, right? You need to have an account, right? You need to have accepted all the terms and conditions and compliant with them, right? But most importantly, the GPTs that you're actually publishing need to be published as public, which is the option that you actually get anyone with the link can access your GPT. That needs to be enabled if you want your or your GPTs to be available on the store, right? Now it's available only to GPT Plus users till date, and people who have been using GPT Plus would know that today also you can actually publish your GPTs, and you can actually check out other GPTs as well through the Explore tab.
Hmm.
Difference with GPT Store obviously becomes is now you can monetize your GPTs as well, right? With the store, right? How that monetization happens, how you get paid is something that they're still figuring out. But one of the metrics that they've highlighted is how many times your GPT has been used, right? To probably compensate you for that, right? So yeah, so it's a good update. And Shiva, as you rightly mentioned, how or probably can they probably give this power from adoption perspective to multiple developers to adopt? I think that's what they're doing right now.
And this is like no code developers. I mean, you
Yeah.
will or rather low code to some extent. I was just speaking to someone today. GPT, see today, GPTs, you can build GPTs, obviously. You can build a chatbot for your company using GPTs by supplying documents, etc. I think GPT will also very soon start accepting websites as well, where you can scrape the websites and do it. Now, the UI looks okay. You know what? UI is on GPT itself. Why would my customer go to GPT and do the, I would say, chat with the GPT actually, chat with the chatbot that I built for my company? My big bet, the other big bet of the GPT store is that what if OpenAI allows you to export your GPT? It's a public GPT, obviously, but export that as a widget to have it in your website. What happens then? You are now disrupting the chatbot market as we
Exactly.
know of it, right? You are disrupting the knowledge based market. You are disrupting customer support market because anyone can go and build them. All OpenAI has to do is allow them to export that the whole I would say trained GPT as a widget which customers could use anywhere in their website or their internal apps. That is my another big bet, which is they're just gonna here they're just here to disrupt in a very big way, and and probably I mean I would say for a lack of better word I would say it'll kill a lot of rapper startups, but it depends on purely depends on how wild a OpenAI is going to get with GPT because it's a fantastic concept. Yes, they've got inspired by Poe of Quora. They get inspired by a lot of other people. Like they got inspired by LangChain and they launched function calling. They look at all the other, I mean, I think pretty soon they're going to launch a RAG equivalent as well, inspired by Llama Index. At some point in time, they'll get inspired by Lizer and probably launch full stack SDKs, fully integrated SDKs as well. They'll continue to do this, but it depends on how wild are they going to get in taking the GPT store out really there to kill all the other uh, SaaS vendors out there.
I,
I mean, like,
I I do have one take on that. While I totally agree with you, right, Shiva, that GenAI has given the power of development to almost everyone who has interest or who probably has passion, right? But see, one thing is that we've seen these low code, no code world. It's not a new world, right? We've had applications or services like Beeline where you can. I've designed applications sitting there, right?
yeah,
Even if you look at probably Android store, right, you've got a lot of these interesting apps coming in. People build those apps, right? But I still feel that the enterprise game has always been quite different, right? So I still feel that while a lot of disruption will happen with what you just mentioned, probably someone building a chatbot and then probably hosting it as a
yeah,
widget.
non-enterprise. Agree, 100% with you. Yes,
that
non-enterprise. Yes,
that business is there to flourish, right? So in short, what I'm saying, Shiva, is that Goeman and Liza have a lot of work to do, right? And
we
we
have a
might
lot of
get
work
to
to
do
do. Oh
that.
my God.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I totally agree. Like this market it'll just become more competitive and lead to more innovations, right? With innovations like GPT Store coming in.
100%. No, 100% with you. I think you made a very good point. This is actually a disruption to the non-enterprise customers, right? Not to enterprise. Like anyone, probably companies under $10 million in revenue. This makes a lot of sense because they're okay on the privacy side, they're okay on the compliance side, they can do the trade-off because it's all about survival, it's all about growth for them, so they could do
It's
that.
about priority,
Companies,
right? And Shiva, I'll give you an
right?
example. We are working with this very early stage fashion website, right, based out of India. And obviously, at this point, their focus right now is to probably give accessibility to the users, right?
Yeah,
So they are actually leveraging something of this sort. While they're taking some help from us, they're leveraging something of this sort out of the box to build a chatbot, right, for their website, right? Because obviously, right now, for them, focus is to probably build accessibility, right? So it definitely is a good option for a lot of these companies or
yeah,
startups. Which
yeah. Just
get
just
started.
the GPT will have OpenAI will have to give some customization options actually.
Absolutely. Agreed, sure. All
Cool.
right, that brings us to the end of this podcast. But great updates. Thanks, Shiva, for sharing that. And everyone, wishing a very happy new year to you. 2024 is slated to be the year of GenAI. Right. So, looking forward to a lot of such updates coming. We'll continue to do these podcasts that Shiva has mentioned. We promised you these podcasts for at least a year. Right. So, see you in the next podcast. Thanks, everyone, and wishing everyone a good day.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you.